Now, today's Swiss watch sales figures can be seen as a small boost for an industry that is facing increasing pressure from tech. Profits are up, comparably speaking, but volumes are down, especially at the lower price range. So what should the Swiss watch industry do now in these changing and challenging times? Well, joining me is Alexander Linz, who is a watch expert and journalist. Welcome back to the programme, Alexander. The figures look good on paper, certainly. What's the story behind them, though?
I think the figures we see actually on the papers are the figures of September, and we should probably better look on the figures from January to September. And if you go to these figures, we have a plus of 2.8%. And I estimate that end of the year, we will finish something with a growth of 1 to 2%, not more. So, it's a monthly event, I would say.
So is the Swiss watch industry under pressure then?
What's under pressure? They have some challenging times to come. There's competition, especially in the lower price segment. As we know, we have the entry price segment is really under pressure coming from the smartwatches. The middle price segment has also some homework to do. But in the upper price segment, the sales are good. The demand is increasing for some brands. They can't deliver what the market would absorb. I would say there is some homework to do, but not in the upper price segment. I would say more in the middle price and in the entry price segment. There we have some minus 12% again, and this is really frightening for me.
I mean, is this in the reduction in the under 200 Swiss franc segment, is that directly down to the rise of the smartwatch?
Those 200 Swiss francs are some 500 Swiss francs retail. There is one example, yes, in the picture. I think so it is, yes. It is linked to the rise of the smartwatch. Apple has now 50% market shares. They're really going strong with the product. And the more medical applications or medical, let's say, apps they implement on their platform, I think the more the watch will sell, because people will start no longer to buy the Apple Watch as a smartwatch as we have been seeing it before, but as a medical observing device you have on your wrist that will, in the future, give you some pretty nice advice how you should probably behave, what to eat, not to eat, to do more or less sports, and probably also tell you if you're in danger, heart attack, or I can imagine that in the next years, the Apple Watch will probably also be able to measure your sugar level and so on. So there's a future. There's a future for it.
So there's a lot of development out there, but I want to know if 2019, this year, is the first year that we'll see the Apple Watch outsell Swiss watches.
As number?
As in volume, first of all, but also in value.
Yeah, it is. When you sell so many watches, okay. Remember, the Swiss watch industry is big, but not so big as some might imagine out there. And this is nothing that is really scaring me. We're talking about two different things here.
Do you think the Swiss watch industry is being complacent then when it looks at this? Because they repeatedly say to us that they are not at all concerned about the rise of the smartwatch.
The upper price segment or the luxury price segment, the really mechanical wristwatches, they don't have to think about the smartwatch, because this is a totally different buyer, someone who is ready to spend $10,000, Swiss francs, euros, pounds, whatsoever in the price range. We're talking about luxury products, and I don't think they are affected. But the entry price level is really affected because there's no answer coming from Switzerland so far.
Should there be an answer from Switzerland? Yes,
of course there should be.
What is that answer?
I'm still waiting for what Nick Hayek announced, that there will be an OS, an operating system from Swatch coming, probably introduced in Tissot. He announced it, and I'm still waiting for it. And I would like to see a smartwatch coming from Switzerland with an own operating system that probably gives different aspects of to the user, and is probably independent if you don't want to stick to the big American companies or Chinese companies, and if you want to have your data safe in Switzerland. There is market for such a watch, and I would like to see one. Yes. Why not?
What do you think about Swatch Pay? I mean, they have issued a watch that you can kind of store your credit card details on and use it to pay for things, so you don't have to take your wallet out of your handbag or pocket. I mean, is that a step in the right direction?
It's a nice start. Let's say it's a nice start.
What about the mechanical watch industry? Do you think that has a future?
Yes, of course. We have to distinguish in between smartwatches that are also, in a way, a consumer good. They are not only a watch, they're a consumer good. They deliver so many information. They are going to be a medical device. And a mechanical wristwatch is such an anachronistic object you wear on your wrist. Either you are into it, either you understand the world, the philosophy of the world of a mechanical wristwatch, and you like it, then you will buy it. It's not a question of does it have a future? It will have a future for sure. And there are so many interesting products that are on the market, and they are still coming on the market. And it's also an object that some use, of course, also to define their status in terms who they are and who they want to be. So there are so many approaches to wear a mechanical wristwatch. It's a luxury item. And there's no question for me that this technology, even if it's compared to a smartwatch, a complete obsolete technology, will survive and have a future because it's simply cool. I have to say, really cool to wear a mechanical wristwatch.
But the type of people who will buy a mechanical wristwatch are those who have money, those who are in the kind of 50-plus bracket. But surely these are exactly the type of people who are going to buy these medically adjusted watches, smartwatches in the future.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the possibility to go on this. I've been talking about to many managers in the Swiss watch industry for a long time now, and I told them that I expect many of, as you said, people 50 plus. The more the smartwatch will get a medical device wearing them because they want to be those who are informed when something happens with them. But probably this generation already has a couple of mechanical wristwatches because they bought them in the past. And it's not so sure for me if they are still continuing to buy a mechanical wristwatch. Even when the industry argues to say, okay, the watch will not be worn during the day, I'm not so sure. So what should happen now, or what I would like to see, is that the Swiss watch industry, not only the Swiss, also the Germans, attract the younger generation with their products and make them interested in wearing a mechanical wristwatch, either by having sensational, cool watches or selling lifestyle, selling many other things, and also selling the fact that it's really cool to have it on the wrist. And they could probably do it by telling younger people you don't need a smartwatch yet because you are still fit, so buy a mechanical wristwatch.
And is that what they're trying to do with, we've seen a lot of adverts with sports stars wearing mechanical watches these days. Is that how they're trying to target a younger audience?
I think they're trying in many ways. The one thing that always works is history behind the brand, storytelling, emotionalizing a product, having emotional products on the market, and these products sell by themselves. So there's no need of having superstars. The superstars may add maybe the cherry on the cake, but the product itself has to have a message, has to have history, has to be there and stand for something, and not only be expensive. And
I just want to interrupt you. I'm very sorry because we're running out of time, and I haven't even touched on the whole Chinese market right now. What's happening in Hong Kong for the watch industry? It's been really affected by protests. We haven't really seen yet the big impact on exports. When will we see that, and by how significant will it be?
I think for Hong Kong it will be very difficult. Hong Kong reflects something 10% of the entire exports, and I think it will be very hard. What I hear meanwhile is that China mainland is absorbing a lot of the business. The Chinese are buying a lot at home. This is also what the government always wanted them to do. The prices in China mainland are reasonable. Meanwhile, so the difference between buying abroad and buying in China, those differences are getting smaller. And so I think there is a good chance that the tourists, those Chinese who went to Hong Kong, to their big shopping center, Hong Kong, they will travel somewhere else. They will go to Singapore, they will go to Japan, to Taiwan. or even to Europe and buy their watches there. So there's hope for me that, yeah, but the impact will be hard. I think so, yeah.